Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. As the weather cools, that doesn't mean it's the end of boating season for everyone. If you're a fan of the outdoors and want to do some cool weather fishing, or if you use your boat when you're going out hunting, some people do that, check out the G3 John boats, Gator Tough. They are the toughest boats on the water. It just dawned on me, Gator Tough is their motto. I don't want emails saying, you're praising them because of Florida. That's not right. Madisonville Marine carries all kinds of boats. And John boats are spectacular for the outdoorsmen. Get down there and see them this week. Highway 411 North in Madisonville. All right, back with David Ubben, back with Jimmy Hyams, and want to have some fun with numbers. I have pulled what I think are 4 monstrously important numbers for Tennessee this season. Show you what they did with those numbers last year, and you guys tell me whether or not you think they'll be higher or lower this year and why. All right, let's look at number 1. David, I'll let you start with this one. Last year, Tennessee averaged 7.23 yards per play, first in the SEC. Will they be better or worse in 2023?
Slightly worse. I think this offense will be very good. I like the skill position talent. I think they're going to be very good at receiver again. But, how many deep balls is Joe going to miss? Can that offensive line continue to make your running game as efficient as it needs to be? Or do you have to extend your running game and throw a few more screens? You got some bodies out there. Leave the block in the receivers. Very good. Slightly less. I think they drop, down below that 7-yard mark.
Jimmy?
I'm a little torn on that one because I think Milton is going to probably hit more deep balls than Hooker did. However, I think the difference is going to be Hooker's ability to run versus Milton. And so Milton's yards per carry is going to be really low versus where Hooker was. So I'm going to go slightly under.
Well, I had these numbers pulled for that very reason. Last year, Tennessee averaged 10 yards per pass. Pass attempt. They averaged 4.9 yards per rush attempt. My guess is the rush number goes down, the pass number goes up slightly in both directions. Mm-hmm. All right, in both cases. All right, let's take the next one, and that is 46.1 points per game. That was first in the SEC last year. That's just ridiculous. What a sport this thing has turned into. 46.1 points per game is what they averaged last year. Jimmy, will they be better or worse in 2023?
Worse. I don't see him scoring 46.1 a game. And a lot of that is because they don't have Hooker and Hyatt. That's a big part of that. I'm going to say less than 46.1 points per game.
Okay. David?
Yeah, I think ultimately I just think Hendon Hooker is a better player than Joe Milton was, and that it comes down to that. I think they'll be still really good, top 3 probably in the SEC, but dipped slightly. I think having a pretty weak non-conference schedule probably helps you a little bit there. Mm-hmm. Or maybe run it up, but in the SEC play, I think they're going to be, a decent step below.
All right, let me tweak this.
Well, they also won't score 60-something on Missouri, right? Because that's the lookout game.
Lookout game. They can't do
or 50 on Bama, but we'll see.
50 on Bama. If they do 50 on Bama and Tuscaloosa, that'd be impressive.
Yeah.
But let me see if I can change your mind a little bit. Last year, Tennessee wound up with 6 teams ranked in the top 25. Georgia, Bama, Clemson, LSU, Pitt, and South Carolina. This year, on paper, I don't think the schedule looks as good as last year's was on paper. I don't see 6 teams that look top 25 to me at this point. Mm-hmm. And part of that is your non-conference schedule. Does that sway you in any?
I think the biggest thing for me is I'm a continuity believer. And so I think that although Tennessee has a bunch of talent, like the offense coming back from last year, it was pretty much all the same pieces, and I think that matters. You got some pieces who've contributed, but you still have pretty much a new quarterback, even though he's been in the program. Brew McCoy was a contributor, but now you need him to be a number 1. Dante Thornton's brand new. Squirrel White's still going to be learning. They're going to be really good, just not quite to that elite level.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that, to his point, and I agree with David, I don't think Milton will be as good as Hooker. I don't think he'll be as consistently good as Hooker. I think A&M's got a better defense than most teams that Tennessee will have played a year ago. Yeah. So that's a part of the reason I don't see them getting to 46 points a game.
And Joe Milton will be drafted higher than Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, he will.
I tried. Okay. All right. Let's do the next one, if we could. We're going to the defensive side of the ball. 22 takeaways. That was second in the SEC. South Carolina had 23 last year. 22 takeaways, David. Will Tennessee be better or worse?
Well, some of that's luck, but I like this front 7, and I think that there's such an emphasis on havoc in this defense and pressure, and I think they might play some offenses that are slightly less efficient than they did last year. I think they can go above that number. Another year in the system, still so many pieces coming back. You upgrade at linebacker. Keenan Peele, I think, is a huge pickup for them. So, I don't think you're going to be having a bunch of corners to run step for step with All-American receivers. Yeah. But I think you can produce a lot of negative plays and a lot of turnovers that front seven. And so I think they can go above that number.
I do too, and a big reason is, and David touched on it, it's the third year in the system. Mm-hmm. And I think that, and look, we know that they like to be aggressive on defense.
Very.
So I think you'll continue to see that. And I think Tennessee will continue to be productive on offense to force teams to throw the football more and to create more turnovers in that regard. So I think they'll be up on
in year one, they were near the top of the country in tackles for loss. Last year, they were near the top of the conference in tackles for loss, which speaks to the aggressiveness. Last year, interestingly, of the 22 takeaways, 11 were fumble recoveries, 11 were interceptions. So, okay, last one. This is a biggie. Last year, you had 31 sacks, which wasn't spectacular, but it was good enough for 6th out of 14 teams in the SEC. So you're middle of the pack, a little higher than the middle. Jimmy, will Tennessee be better or worse this year?
I'm going to go more than 31 sacks. I like what I'm hearing about Pierce. I like what I'm hearing about Joseph. I think that Amari Thomas is going to give him an inside push. I think Aaron Beasley playing the weak side linebacker, I think he's going to be one of the leaders on the team in sacks. I think that's a more natural position for him, so I'm going to go above 31 sacks.
All right.
I'll go above. I hate sacks as a stat. I think it's kind of fluky. I'm a pressure rate person. But I will say I think they can be
Sorry, I didn't give you the right full screen.
Sorry.
If you can tell me where to track pressure rate, I'll do it.
It's around. But I think they can be more disruptive in the offensive backfield. I think they can get more sacks. I like this, again, the front seven at Tennessee, I think has gotten better and better and better. And even though you got some new pieces there, I think it starts on the defensive line. I really like those guys. You mentioned Amari Thomas. Even without Byron Young, I still think they can be really, really disruptive. And people want to, rip on Tim Banks. Like, the defense does what the defense is designed to do. And it does it well. Get the ball back, get people behind the chains, get more possessions. And they're going to do that well this year.
Tim Banks did a great job last year. He did a great job last year. The problem is fans focus on their own school. So when they see your team give up 60
South
or 40,
Carolina's really bad.
Right. but here's the thing. How do you think Alabama felt about giving up 50?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody does that. We showed that last year, how many teams gave up 35, gave up 45, gave up 50. Tennessee was right in the mix with all those teams. Tim Banks is highly underrated.
Yes.
They had 3 bad games on defense last year. That's pretty good out of 13.
Especially considering what you're paired to on that offense.
Yes.
So, yeah. All right. When we come back, are the Vols on the verge of another big get? Did they do what they wanted to do this summer? We're going to talk recruiting with Ryan Callahan next on the Sports Source. Come on back.